Chanukah. It's a sikha from the Lubavitcher Rebbe about Chanukah. This is a sikha this is in Likutei Sichas Aleph. This was said in 1950, I guess 1954, right in the beginning. So Chanukah is a very wonderful holiday, maybe the universal holiday in Judaism. Jews that don't celebrate anything celebrate Chanukah. You don't have to do that much. You just light the candles. But lighting the candles is still, it's doing something Jewish.
I remember the story that you told of your bar mitzvah. Your uncle gets up, I think, to say the
my grandfather.
The grandfather, he sings.
Yes, very good. That's right. Good. You are right. This is how I remember. He got up and he made the blessing. Asher kirishanu b'mitzvah v'tzivanu. He didn't really know what he was saying.
That says it all.
Right. But this is a blessing. It's a blessing, a standard blessing. It's like in the laws of, you're supposed to make blessings over food, and it's supposed to be the right blessing. You make over bread, you make one blessing, and over meat, you make a different blessing, and on the fruits, you make a different blessing, and on wine, you make a different blessing. But if you don't know what blessing to make, you don't know what the bread is made of. You don't know. So it says you can say a shehakol. So it's the same thing in America. You don't know what blessing to make. You say, "Malik neros Chanukah," because you don't know what. That's not a law. It's a joke. Okay, so but nevertheless, what does it mean that Chanukah is a holiday that all of the Jewish people, if they do anything, they do Chanukah. At least that's the way it is in America. There were certain countries, I understand, like Bulgaria and this, that they did bris milah, circumcision. They would circumcise their children. And that they would do, maybe they also did that, and Chanukah. But anyway, Chanukah is a pretty, what they call ubiquitous, however you pronounce the word. It's everywhere, Chanukah.
Even the pets get Chanukah menorah sweaters.
Really? Every Chanukah, yeah. So, b'kesher l'Chanukah, we find two opposites. Number one, Ne'emar b'Sforim, it says in various books, the Marsha, etc., that the name Chanukah comes from chinuch. Chinuch means education. V'kekach yesh gam lahavin, also b'pashtus, simply Chanukat HaMizbeach, Chanukat Beit HaMikdash, Et Chanukat HaMizbeach. We read in the Torah. That's the last day of Chanukah. We read Zot Chanukat HaMizbeach. What does it mean, Chanukat HaMizbeach? You educate the Holy Temple. You educate the Beit HaMikdash. Chanukah, in this case, means the inauguration. But that's not the simple meaning of Chanukah. The simple meaning of Chanukah comes from the word chinuch. Chinuch means education. What has it got in common with this thing of inaugurating the altar in the Holy Temple, or inaugurating the Holy Temple? That's what they call it, right? Inauguration. What is it when they send the ship off? They call it a christening. No, but that's it. That's it. Okay. Anyway, it's inauguration. Inauguration day is the day like the president starts inauguration. They're inaugurating a new thing. Right? So it says in the books that the Chanukah comes from the word education, and of course the reason it's called Chanukah is because of Chanukat HaMizbeach, that the Greeks defiled the temple, and the Jews went back and they reinstated the temple, they re-inaugurated the temple, so it's called Chanukat HaMizbeach. Kisheitchila shel bitzua avodah, Kodesh Baruch, this signaled the beginning of the service of God in the Holy Temple, and especially on the altar. One of the two different opinions. According to one opinion, one of the major features, and according to the other one, is the major feature of the Holy Temple was the altar where they sacrificed the sacrifices. That was the main, according to one opinion, the main feature of the Holy Temple was the sacrifices. I remember the first time I saw that, I thought, what is going on? Who does sacrifice? That's the basis of Judaism, is taking animals and killing them on an altar. That's Judaism. I read in the Torah, in English. I kept looking at the cover. This is the Jewish Bible. Maybe somebody stuck a page in here or something. Well, who makes sacrifice? Nevertheless, that is a main feature of the Holy Temple, and we're praying the third Holy Temple will come so we can make the sacrifices again. Who wants to make sacrifices? You get all bloody, and those were the high people. Those are the priests, the holiest people in Israel. They were the ones that made the sacrifices, and they took the animals and they sacrificed them, and they had to slaughter them. What's this got to do with it? And that's not only that's called serving God. And the whole thing of the Holy Temple was serving God by making these sacrifices. Who would think of that? Who would dream of going into any religious place in the world except, who knows, maybe, a slaughterhouse, to take to a mosque and to a church and this and bring a dog or something, a cat, an animal, a sheep, kill a sheep? Who would do a thing like that?
Sounds barbaric.
Barbaric, primitive. And not only that, by making these sacrifices, it appeases God, makes God happy. This is the essence of Judaism. Well, let's look at. Nevertheless, that's the whole holiday of Chanukah. And Chanukah is they inaugurated anew the altar where they sacrificed the sacrifice. The whole holiday of Chanukah is based on the altar where they made the sacrifices. Did you know that? I don't want to discourage anyone from keeping the holiday, but you'll get more discouraged in a moment. Base. There's something opposite. Nes Chanukah, the miracle of Hanukkah, haya shenimsa pach shemen, that they found a bottle of pure oil, chatum b'chotma shel kohen gadol, and it was sealed with the seal of the kohen gadol. Limarot shelafi halacha, even though that according to the law, hayata efsharut, it was technically permissible, lahadlik, to light the menorah also with impure oil. Why? Because tuma hutra duchuya or hutra betzibur. There's a law that if the majority of the Jewish people are impure, they touch dead bodies or whatever, that they can actually go into the Holy Temple and make sacrifices. A single person, or even if it's hundreds of thousands of people, if they're the minority of the Jewish people, then each person, then they can't go into the Holy Temple and make sacrifices. If it is on, let's say, Pesach, the Paschal Pesach offering is one that everybody has to make. That's like one of the basics of Judaism. Every Jew has to make the Pesach offering. A Jew doesn't make Pesach offering. The Paschal lamb, it says, is bad news. Very, very not good. And there are some people that they can't because they're not uncircumcised. But anyway, a person who is impure, for sure he can't go and make the first Pesach sacrifice. So they made a special thing called Pesach Sheni. The sacrifice is so important that anyone who didn't make it because it was impure or he was far away, it was sick, something, he didn't make it on the first Passover, so they make a month later, they make what's called Pesach number 2. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Pesach Sheni. No, well, listen, the law is that if the majority of the Jewish people are impure on the first Passover, they don't make the second Passover, they make it on the first Passover. The majority of the Jewish people are impure, they touch the dead body or something like that. Nevertheless, they can all make this offering. So it says, Tuma hutra betzibur. If there's enough Jews that are impure, and it's impossible otherwise, so therefore they can make the offering on the first Passover. Same thing here. Let me just finish the sentence of the same thing here. The oil was impure. What was it impure? Like we said before, the Greeks were not barbarians like the Romans or the Babylonians or people. They weren't bloodthirsty maniacs. I mean, they liked blood also, but that wasn't their big thing. They wanted to rule, and they also wanted to spread culture. That was their big thing. They were cultured people, right? They were cultured people. It doesn't, just because you're cultured doesn't mean you can't be a barbarian. The Germans, the Nazis, they were very cultured, and they were the worst barbarians, worse than the Romans. They were the worst barbarians you ever find, right? They took great pleasure in killing all, well, you don't have to go into it. But nevertheless, the fact is the Greeks were cultured people, and they wanted to spread their culture around the world. And some of the culture that they spread around exists to this day, the philosophies and the plays. And this.
I just had a question about this.
But just let me finish. So they touched all the bottles. They opened all the bottles of oil. They opened up all the bottles. Now, because they opened them all up, so it was the majority. In fact, in this case, all of the oil was impure. So according to the law, tuma hutra betzibur, or duchuya betzibur, that tuma, impurity, is pushed away. we don't pay any attention to it if there's the majority of the Jewish people, or if it's, and let's take in our case, if it's impossible otherwise. Because it's impossible otherwise, it's permissible to use impure oil. So they could have used it. So the whole miracle of Hanukkah is sort of like extra, we really didn't have to do this. You know what I mean? They didn't really have to look for the bottle and one bottle of oil, and then it had a big miracle, lasted for 8 days, because they didn't have any more oil. So just 1 second. Hello? See this? There's thousands of bottles of oil over here. What type of a holiday are you doing? This is the big miracle. The Lord lasted. The Lord made a miracle for 8 days. It burned. But you don't need the miracle. I mean, there's all this, right? Right. Security, have this man taken out, please. The big miracle. But here the Rebbe says it wasn't really such a big miracle. They didn't have to use that pure oil. They could have used impure oil. It was permissible for them. And after they found the one bottle of pure oil, it only lasted for 1 day. So if it ran out, no big deal. They could take the impure oil. They could use it. The whole miracle. So what are we're making a holiday for? What's the big deal of the holiday? Okay, let's go. I'm sorry, you wanted to ask, yeah.
I have a question. This idea that they didn't have to, that they could have used the oil because a majority of the people are impure, so it pushes away impurity. Can this somehow, this type of a ruling, a halacha, be used to interpret that people can go up to the Temple Mount?
Listen, you can go up if you have to go up.
As I understand, the reason we don't go up is because we're impure. It's a big reason.
Right, that's right. If it was really a mitzvah to go up, and everybody had to go up, right? It could be, yes, everybody could go up, let's say to make a Pesach offering, because they're tumah. But if you look into it a little bit more deeply, which I really have not looked into it more deeply, you'll see that for number one is there's no mitzvah to go up there now. You don't have to go up and make a sacrifice. Number two, the majority of the great rabbis, Lubavitcher Rebbe is one of them, say that it's totally forbidden and there's no thing of going up there nowadays. Although there is 2% or whatever it is of rabbis who are serious people, and they say that you can go up, but they're vastly, vastly outnumbered, and they're outnumbered by people who are, really caliber, But so whatever, I mean, I'm sorry, they're aware, this 2%, they're aware of what the rest of them say, and nevertheless they hold on to their opinion, whatever it is, and I have not really gotten into the midst of this argument, to tell you the truth. But because I'm Chabad and the Rebbe of Chabad, and there's none of the Chassidim, as far as I know, and none of the religious Jews, Chassidim or Litvisher Jews or any of the Jews, that none of them go up. But there are some, let's say there is what they call like Yeshiva University, people that are sort of very open, they want to show that they're open, and so they've found justification for going up. I don't know. I don't really get it why it's so important to go up personally. Just to show that it belongs to us. I think it's exactly the opposite. By going up and getting the police getting you out, it shows that it doesn't belong to us. It's sort of a thing that, and you're not going to force them, that's for sure. You're not going to force the government, because we're going up, so the government will say, okay, we'll just get rid of all the Arabs. It's not going to happen. You understand? It's just not going to happen. So I don't really think it should be even an issue.
The only reason I brought it up is just that I know that people might be watching this tape and they might...
Oh, I understand. Yeah, sure. But listen, those people who do go up on the mountain, they do have who to rely on. They have who to rely on. There's no doubt about it.
I've seen videos of tourists going up there.
Oh yeah, sure, of course. There's rabbis that go up. Yeah. There's rabbis that go up. But like I say, these are rabbis, either they have a political issue that they want to go up, or they have, they want to just show that, that they say it's permissible. There's no reason not to go up. I don't really understand what's the logic behind it.
Going up a religious Zionist. That's what they look like.
There are some people that aren't anyway.
They pay out.
And listen, whatever it is, they want to show that that the land of Israel belongs to us, all of it, even there, and they want to put a stake up there. So good, their intentions are good. If their actions actually are fitting their intentions, I don't know, but for sure their intentions are good. They're not going up there just to make trouble or to go against God or to show that there's no holiness anymore in the temple, so we can do whatever we want to. And if anything, is to defy the government. Defy the government, which essentially is a good thing. Essentially it's a good thing, but it has to be done in a different way, in a proper way. Okay, let's go. Vocation of Hanukkah, it says, okay, so we find two opposites. On one hand, it's renewal. On the other hand, God made a miracle, and they found one bottle of oil, which really wasn't 100% necessary that they had to even look for it, because they could have lit impure oil, but they found one bottle of oil. And God made a miracle so that it's possible not only to begin doing the commandment, which they found the bottle already. They could do the mitzvah in the most hidur way, the most, special, beautiful way, with pure oil. The low-kal hiturim, without any looking around for any sort of laws that will permit them to go. Af lo mavusasim, not even really founded laws. Hahitim shal pi Shulchan Aruch. According to the Shulchan Aruch, it's not talking like these people who go up to on the Har HaBayis, they found this person says it's permissible because of this reason, because of that. He piles on a reason and another reason, and it could be very good, but still you have to rely on all these unusual reasons to permit what's obviously forbidden. Right? And you find it's not so forbidden as you think. I found the reason. But what happened? God made this miracle that they didn't have to look for any sort of excuses, any sort of justifications. They did the commandment in the best way, with pure oil, and it lasted 8 days. Near it, Eifo, Mikan, but it seems, however, Horaki B'kol Hanogeh Le'inyan Shel Kedusha, everything that is relevant to holiness, Yesh Lasoto Miyad, you should do it immediately, B'tchilato, Im Reshit HaChinuch B'tachlit HaShlemot B'tachlit HaHidur, that you have to do everything in the ultimate best way. In the best way. Okay, so in other words, the whole idea of Chanukah is the idea of chinuch, education. An education. On one hand, it's talking about Chanukah, just referring to the Holy Temple. They renewed the Holy Temple. On the other hand, it says what? That they looked for the pure bottle so that they could continue on, the light could light for 8 days. So it wasn't really, on one hand we say Chanukah is just talking about the beginning. The main thing is the beginning. Chanukah, they purified the temple and they began the service. Chanukah means inauguration day. On the other hand, the miracle of Hanukkah was not the inauguration. Just the finding the bottle, that wasn't enough. The bottle had to last for 8 days, so it was the continuation, was the whole thing. Continuation. Okay, so on one hand, we can say that education, chinuch, has to start off always on the right foot. It has to start out in the most pure way possible. You shouldn't take second quality. You want to educate the children? Chanukah, learn from Chanukah. Don't take impure oil, even though this could be permissible. And you can explain it, don't take impure oil. The teachers have to be people who fear God. What you learn has to be written by people who fear God. And the subjects has to be subjects that lead to the fear of God. Don't take number 2 for an answer. So you have to start off with, look for the best bottle. But the main thing is, seems that it stresses the continuation, not just the beginning. The second is, the light's lit for 8 days. On the other hand, Chanukah seems to imply, no, that the main thing is the first day. They inaugurated the Beit HaMikdash. That's the holiday. The holiday is the beginning. And the second implies that the holiday is, no, the continuation is not the beginning. Continuation. Although you should start off with a pure beginning, but continue on. Let's make this relevant to us now. Educating children. Perhaps the most important subject in Judaism is educating. That's why the Torah was given to the Jewish people, to all the Jewish people, and it was given in the form of a book. That people would learn it, education. People would be educated. It's very important who the teachers are that pass from one generation to the other. It's very important that the children should understand the teacher. That they should be able to be the teacher is great, but the pupils are having trouble understanding him. Maybe there's pupils have trouble understanding at all, in general. So you have to make sure that your education has to be passed on from one to the other. So it is, how do you educate children? In Shachar Yaldotam, in the beginning of their childhood, Yesh la'anik lahem yahadut shlema. You have to give to them pure Judaism. The low-call psharos, without any, not consolation, without any, I forgot the word. Psharos means that you give in. What is it called? A compromise. Oh, without any compromise. Below call hiterim, and without any leniencies. A lot of times people say, come on, it's just a kid. These kids, they don't have to be taught, ultimate whole. Well, we'll teach them nice things. We'll teach them, Aesop's fables or something like that. Throw in a little bit of Judaism, and tell them a few stories. The main thing is they have to be interested. We have to give them things that interest them. As soon as they get a little bit bored, and this, you don't tell them, sit down and learn, come learn. No. Okay, recess time. He says, but teacher, we've been having recess time. We have recess time 90% of the day. Okay, recess time. The essence of Judaism has to be that you teach the children, and you teach the children in a way that they want to learn, but you have to teach the children. You have to teach them, and you have to teach them in a way that is pure and without any compromise. It has to be interesting when you teach the children, but not
even for adults.
Even for adults, and you have to, but it has to be. Havtacha gam ki yazkin lo yasur mimeno. That what it says in Proverbs, that if you teach the child according to his way, that even when he's old, he won't turn away from it. Eno musagas, you cannot accomplish this. Al yedei his tamchut al kach shekasher yitbager hayalad yetzel lashuk veyispru lo az she'alav lehilachim. You can't tell that. First of all, teach him in a nice way, and then maybe when he gets older, then he'll be told, no, listen, you have to really make sacrifices for Judaism. You have to really sometimes fight. And then he gets older, but his wife will say, listen, shouldn't get so excited about everything that happens in the world, that making money is not as important as learning Torah. Learn Torah first and then make money. Watching television is not as important as learning Torah. You learn Torah, you'll see you don't even want to watch the television. You'll find out everything that you want to know, the news. You'll find out about in the mikveh. You don't have to buy the newspapers. Right? But when is he going to find out about this? When is he going to find all this stuff? When he gets older. It's better that when he's young, when he's a child, as you already tell him, listen, newspapers, you don't need them. You'll find out it's only negative news anyway. He sees that the teacher is a person that he lives his life in a happy, a pure way, instead of listening to all who got killed today and who got murdered today, who got raped today, who got fires and tragedies and awful things. And it could happen to you also. Better read the newspaper tomorrow. It could be coming close to you. Instead of living a life like that, so he lives a life like his teacher does. And he's a happy person. He knows what's happening in the world. He doesn't bring into his house all sorts of negative, terrible things. says this has to teach the child when he's just a child, when he's young, in the beginning. Im rotzim she kis ken yamod b'nisyonos. If you want that when a child gets older, he'll be able to stand in tests, and he won't lie, and he won't cheat, and he won't, etc., get angry. Yesh lahatchil ito od biyoto nar. You have to begin when the child is still a child. That's education. Lefichach, therefore, hishtadlu kol kach chachmei Yisrael. Therefore, the wise men of Israel, they put such effort, v'hishkiu mamatsim, and they put in such tremendous attention. Gedolim bechinuch b'nei u'benos Yisrael sheyu al Torah HaKodesh. Therefore, they put so much effort that teaching children has to be in the holiest of ways. Holiest of ways. Heim nevku al kol prat. They fought and they battled on every detail. Afilu pratim shenirim lo chashuvim b'miuchad lo vitru v'nevku aleim. Even things that seem to be not really that important, they made a war about these. Like, for instance, you'll see an example. Lefi sheyadu sheshanot hachinuch hachashuvot lanar, that the most important, that the years of education, when the child is being educated, or the naro, or the girl, lakal chayim, that these years are of education, these are the most important years of their life. Those are the years that they're really given a base for life. Tahem yodu sheyesh latet lahem tokif kli neshek, that when you educate a child properly, this gives him a power, and it gives him, what do you want to call it, weapons. L'shem haradifas kol milchamos sheavo aleim ba'orach chayim, that they can succeed in all the difficulties and the trials and challenges that they have in the whole rest of their life. Oh. It's a person is, so that's, we're talking about that, we're connected to Chanukah, because Chanukah is the union of chinuch, the whole idea of chinuch, and educating the children. It's very important that children should be educated in a way that gives them a power to be Jews. Being a Jew means being different. Right? Just think about it for 1 minute. Now is Yud Tet Kislev in Russia. Russia was a fanatically religious place. In the time of the Alter Rebbe, this is 250 years ago. Fanatically Russian Orthodox. Everyone was Russian Orthodox. The clergy, for sure, all the education was in the hands of the clergy. Right? They were the intelligentsia, the king, the royal family, all the people, everyone, the newspapers, everything. Everyone was Russian Orthodox, except for the Jews. The Jews were the only ones. Right? They stood out like a sore thumb. No matter what the Tsar tried to do, he couldn't get the Jews to leave Judaism. He tried to be harsh with them, he tried to be nice with them, he tried to be this. It just didn't work. And finally, in the end, they sent in the Haskalah people, the people that said, they were very intelligent and they knew the whole Torah, and they would lure the children away. They would say, we're taking the children to a really good school in Berlin. There's genius Torah scholars. They would take them there and they would teach them, Torah is very nice, but, it doesn't compare to Spinoza, it doesn't compare to this. So, the Jews always have to fight battles. The very existence of a Jew implies that he's fighting a battle. It doesn't have to be that he gets angry and that he goes and he hurts other people. But the battle is two ways. First of all, to hold on to who he is, and the second is, according to Chabad, is to conquer the world, to show the rest of the world what really is right, that God really is creating everybody. So, but however it is, life is a struggle. It's a struggle really for everybody. The Professor Viktor Frankl brings it out clearly about even all the non-Jews. He dealt with non-Jews. That life has to have tension in order to be healthy. What is and what should be. And it's up to you, your responsibility to do something in the world. Right? That's a healthy life. That's the way life should be. But especially a Jew. Because a Jew has an obligation not only to his conscience, but also to the creator of the universe. Right? Things your conscience would never tell you to do. Your conscience tells you shouldn't eat milk and meat together, right? When you see it in the Torah, maybe But what's wrong with lighting a cigarette on Shabbos or lighting your lights on Shabbos? Well, could he possibly, go against your conscience to do that? But Torah says it's not good. When a non-Jew sees a Jew acting like this, and he asks him, why are you doing this? He says, because God told me. He told us at Mount Sinai. Spoke to 3 million people. God speaks to people. Yeah, he took us out of Egypt, gave us the whole Torah. You still believe in that? Sure, he's giving it right now. The non-Jew starts to think, listen, this person is a person that really lives according to really true values, right? But you have to have the fortitude, you have to have the strength inside that you really believe that this is true and that you're willing to incorporate this in your day-to-day life. Okay, a person is similar to a tree. If you make a small scratch in a tree, when it's big, when it's a big tree, there's a little mark, a little chip in the tree, and it just stays there. But except for the little chip that's there, it doesn't cause any trouble. But if you put a scratch in the seed, before you plant it, it could be that because of this scratch, because of one scratch, the whole tree will grow up in a crooked way. So it is also with education. A person when in the middle of his life, he's 20 years old or whatever, 30, 40. He's 50, 60 years old. Savur. And then he decides that he has to make all sorts of concessions in life. This obviously has a bad effect on the person, but only on these couple of years. He can come out of it. What did I do that for? Why did I bring a television to my house? Why did I do it? For 40 years he lived without making any compromises on his Judaism, on his principles. For 40 years he lived. Therefore, if he trips up, and he decides to make compromises 1 year, as noslo 40 shana shemeacharav, at the koach, the 40 years that he has of experience, this gives him power to forget immediately this compromise that he made in his life. Like I said, for instance, he brings a television into his house, he starts dressing, takes off his beard, decides he's not going to put on tzitzis. So the 40 years that he had, this gives him the power to think, what did I do that for? It was not necessary. Why shouldn't I be just true to Judaism? Who am I afraid of? Who am I trying to impress? But if you teach the child when he's young to start already making compromises in his life and do whatever is the easiest, like they say in America, they have a saying, rivers and people become crooked by following the path of least resistance. Right? A river goes, there's a big rock, so it goes, it goes a little bit further, and there's a tree, so it goes like that, and then the river starts going on. The same thing, a person starts off with principles, but then all of a sudden the teacher says, listen, you don't have to wear a yarmulke all the time. So makes a little, maybe people laugh at you, you don't have to put on tzitzis, you don't have to this. So eventually the person becomes that he doesn't know what really straight is. He doesn't know what really to be brave and to be, how do you say, integrity it's called. Doesn't have any integrity anymore. When a person is young, and you want to educate him to make compromises in life, to take the easy way, then that takes away from him the warmth, the knaut, and the zealousness for Judaism, the kol l'chaim for his whole life. Nosef ala charitz, in addition to the fact that when you take a seed and you make a scratch in it, in addition to this, v'pagam shenasa b'neshama, and it makes in a child when he's young, alul gam lios she'achar mikein, it could also be that the Jew grows up, pagum u'balmum, with a blemish. There's people that came into the yeshiva, and they said that because of a picture that they saw, of a movie that they saw, right? It wrecked their whole life. Right? They saw one thing, they said it wrecked their whole life. Not hard to see. All of a sudden life becomes cheap in their eyes. Everything becomes this, and it always bothers them in their mind. Right? There's terrible pictures and terrible things that happen. This destroyed their whole life. All of a sudden life has no meaning to it. It's that they just didn't want to do this thing, right? So therefore this can make a blemish on a person for the rest of his life to make improper compromises. Nachon, it's true that even though that a person, no matter what sin a Jew does, he is always a Jew. Ach yesh gam kazeh she'olav omar megamora. It says achor ata ba'olam hazeh. It says that a person can be, what do you want to call it, rejected from this world. Im ki lamarbe hamazal huvtach lo ha'olam haba. It could be that maybe a person will go to heaven. Could be. Baram anu zekokim lador Yehudi yitzeir ba'olam hazeh. But what do we need? It could be that God is merciful and God is okay, and the person did sins. Okay, God will make excuses. But the fact of the matter is that this world, he messed up what he was supposed to do. We have to have a generation of Jews that are healthy spiritually living Jews, spiritually healthy Jews, physically healthy Jews. Mishum kach, therefore, because if they're spiritually healthy, that will make them physically healthy. That they can conquer the world, lo rak ba'atzmam, not only for themselves, shechelkom, not only fix themselves up, shechelkom ba'olam yeh mikdash l'Hashem, that everything that they touch and everything that they use, their house, their car, will be like a holy temple. It was a holy temple. It was a bunch of bricks, but it was a place where people went and they felt that there was a creator. God was revealed. They felt there's a creator that's creating me. Ki im gam l'dor emtzai v'hakashish. This will something be relevant to all the generations, even young and old. Education, proper education, can't be stressed too much. That the children have to have teachers and topics that bring them to have a healthy and a complete and an attitude that they fear only God and they don't fear anything else. You have more time? Do we have more time?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. There are some details that at first glance, they seem to be not so important. And that they're only like a little string, no big deal. But it could be that this little string that let's say the teacher makes, he makes some sort of like we said, a compromise, a little bit of weakness. This little string, this is what the Gemara says, that the whole entire Yetzer Hara can be built on this little string. It says that the evil people, that when they're judged, it says that the Yetzer Hara seems to be like a little string. They could have, like a hair, they could have easily overcome it if they wanted to, but they didn't want to. They just tricked them. They said, okay, tomorrow I'll fix it up. How can a Jew come to this, that he can be a Rasha, go against God? How can a Jew do this? A Jew wants to do the will of God. That's the essence of every Jew. How can it be that a Jew comes to do things that are opposite of what God wants? Says the Rebbe, the answer is because need melem kachut asara. Because all the reason that Jews can go against the Torah and do mitzvahs is because doing mitzvahs, doing bad things, it's a little string, it's a little hair, no big deal, right? So he lights one light on Shabbos. It's such a big deal. Lights a light on Shabbos. He eats a piece of not kosher food. It's such a big deal. People eat. Look, there's 8 billion people in the world. They're all eating, clams. The ones that don't is because they don't have any money. I've got money. Why not eat one clam? I'm not going to eat a lot of clams. One clam. Big deal. Need malola adam shu she'adavar zeh hu inyan katan. It seems that he doesn't put on tefillin. No big deal. But sometimes it's true. But according to this person, this little thing could tilt him over. And it could tilt him over that Yachriya oto o sheyeh tzadik v'yikotev l'chayom haba o Rahman litzlan Russia she'alav omer katuv l'dor olam. It could be that the person's life is just in this very big balance, and this one little bad thing he does all of a sudden changes his whole outlook on life, right? Judaism is important, but it's not so important, right? Judaism is really important, but it's not really that important. I remember there was one person that the Rebbe argued with him, a big rabbi, a big professor of this, that the world is, the Rebbe wanted to say the world is exactly 5,700 whatever years old. And this rabbi and this big professor, he's also one of the people that say you can go up on Mount Harabayas. He said, no, why contradict science? Science says that the world is billions of years old. It could be billions of years. Maybe there's the Rebbe brought all these proofs, didn't move him at all. Didn't move the person at all, right? So, what do you care? The Torah can't contradict science. Say the opposite. How can science contradict Torah? That should be your question. How can it? No, the Torah is important, but science is science. And if you can make them both work together, so why not, right? The Rebbe said science is wonderful, and it has to fit the Torah. And if it doesn't fit the Torah, then it's wrong. Right? Then it's wrong. That's all there is to it. There's nothing. Didn't accept it. So that's already a little tilt. Big deal. But we care about how old the world is. I mean, I put Torah. I put tefillin on. I keep the Shabbos. I learn Torah. I'm a very important person. This big deal. The world was either created 5,000 years ago or 5 trillion years ago. It's so big and important. He says, yeah, because the reason it's important is, does the Torah really rule over everything? Can the Torah really be taken literally in every single example? And anytime a scientist comes and says something, you start to worry, bite your nails. Should that be the if a person doesn't have the proper power and intelligence in order to understand that one little detail could possibly tilt his whole life in the wrong direction, eventually it'll become clear to him. All of a sudden, what's going to happen is something will come from the bad side. When a person sees the story, like it says, that I heard a story from the Ben Ish Chai yesterday. You haven't got time, but I'll tell you in a very short way. That like in the beginning of the book of Job, the devil is talking to God. So the devil says to God, listen, here's a guy that's sitting and he's learning Torah. I can make any Jew do sins. The reason this guy is not doing any sins is because he's sitting in such a pure atmosphere, a pure place. I'll take him out. So God says, okay. So here's a guy sitting and learning Torah. All of a sudden, 12 o'clock in the night, puts on his coat. His wife says, where are you going? He says, I want a little bit of fresh air. He says, fresh air, 12 o'clock in the night. What are you going on? I want fresh air. He says, the Yetzer Hora put in his mind. So he says, I'll go for a little walk. So he goes for a walk, and there's a big bar. He goes to a big bar, discotheque, goes inside. People are playing cards, they're playing pool. People are saying they're dressed not nice. They're all yelling and they're screaming and they're talking, they're this. They're talking about business, they're talking about this, they're yelling and this. He's sitting, he's watching. The devil is really getting happy. This guy's really getting interested in the whole thing. People, all of a sudden, he runs back home. And he runs, after half an hour, runs back home. And he sits and he starts to really learning. He's learning his wife said, where were you? He said, I just went you went to the bar. He says, yeah. He said, listen, those people, they were so enthusiastic about what they're doing, and it was so stupid what they're talking about. I listened. They're talking about such ridiculous, stupid things that today, tomorrow, all the facts that they have will be proven to be wrong. And I have the Torah that's the truth. If they're so excited about that, I should really be excited about the Torah. So he says, you can learn from the Yetzer Hora how you should be excited about doing holy things, as we'll talk about, God willing, tomorrow.